Hello, it's Blue Orange 22. Today I want to bring you a story coming out of Europe. Two women were on a flight, and on the plane they drank an entire bottle of vodka. They became loud and disruptive. One of them threatened to break her son's legs, and they got so bad that the police had to come on the plane. And nothing happened. Basically, when they got off the plane, the police talked to them and gave them a warning, and that was it. They were just kind of let go. I put the link down in the description below. Now, this might not seem like a men's rights story, and sometimes I'll hear people say, oh, sometimes MRAs, they like talking badly about women, or they like finding stories of women being arrested as if that's part of men's rights, but what does that have to do with anything? Well, it's a little more complicated than that because it shows how society treats men and women differently. Because if you had two men doing this, if you had two men getting that drunk on a flight that people felt uncomfortable, that the police had to actually come on the plane, and one of the guys threatened to break his son's legs, they would have been arrested and they would have been taken to jail. And the reason why this is an issue is because you have different rules for 50% of the population. There's a lot of implications there. First of all, why do you have these different rules for men and for women? And secondly, what are the consequences if 50% of the population knows that they can cause a public disruption and not really have a consequence? 50% of the population can do something that's illegal because causing a problem on a flight is considered very serious, and they'll get away with it without any problems. This is going to be a topic that I explore in a later video, but in the UK, this is actually now the law. Men and women have two separate justice systems, and women are automatically treated more leniently and automatically get less punishment for the same crime than a man. You'll see this in the second link that I have down below. This was a decision last year, and as you can see, women are now basically exempt from prison in the UK. For most crimes, what they call non-serious crimes. But as you see, and I think I talked about this before, there have been stories of women getting DUIs and not going to prison simply because and only because of their gender. You can see this, the third link in the description was that story. That's really kind of dangerous when you think about it now. You're creating two separate and distinct justice systems for people based on what gender they are. So the rules for one gender are different than for the other gender. So it's not just as simple as saying, oh, you just like talking about women when they do something wrong, or you like making women look bad. It's kind of an example of how police will treat a man and a woman differently just because they're a man or a woman. And now you can actually see the legal system in the UK actually has different rules for men and for women. So read the links below. Think about it. Think about stories like this. They're not as simple as they seem. And the other thing to think about is when the mother threatened to break her son's legs. That's quite scary because how often does she get drunk and threaten her son? How often does she break his legs? How often does that happen? If a father got drunk and threatened his child like that, breaking his legs, do you think maybe the child services or the welfare services in the UK would get involved? Do you think it would be different? So when you see stories like this, kind of think about it at a little bit of a deeper level and always ask yourself, if the genders were reversed, what would the difference be?